Hey, this is Mr. Eason with Homework Help. Today we're going to be talking about expressions and the way to solve expressions. In third grade and in fourth grade, your students actually had some exposure to order of operations. They heard of please excuse my dear Aunt Sally maybe, or some other ways to remember the steps. But I broke it down as simple as I can as far as what the steps are. And I want to point something out really important about the steps before we do any examples. So first we have parentheses. That includes brackets and braces. We have exponents, which are something that we don't touch on a whole lot in the fifth grade. We may do some just for an extension, but that's not really a fifth grade topic. And then step 3, you do multiplication, division. Step 4, you do addition, subtraction. These two steps in particular are where I used to get tricked, okay? When I think of my dear, I think of multiplication and then division. And when I was in school, I used to think that you had to multiply first, then divide second. And that's not the case. After you've done parentheses and exponents, you do all the multiplication and division in the same step from left to right. So it's possible that you will do a division question before a multiplication question in this order of operations. Same thing with number 4. I used to think it was addition first, then subtraction second. That's not the case. It happens at the same time, like you're reading it from left to right. So if subtraction comes first before addition, you do subtraction before you do addition. And that's one place that I used to get tricked. So let's look at a couple of examples. We'll look at 2 easier ones and 2 harder ones. These 2 are kind of easier ones, so we'll solve both of these together. For the first one that says number 3, we're going to start by doing the parentheses. That's our step number 1. So we're going to start by doing the parentheses, which is 3 times 2. And we know 3 times 2 is 6, so we'll just go ahead and put a 6 there. I'm going to keep everything else the same. This is the way I show my work. This is also the way that I don't get confused as to what to do next. So now I've got that thing where I've got addition and subtraction next because there are no exponents and there's no multiplication and division. So I'm going to do the subtraction first because it comes first in if you're reading it from left to right. So I'm going to do 9 minus 6 first, which is 3, and 3 plus 8, which is 11. So my answer to this expression, if it asks me to evaluate, would be 11. Now I'm going to look at the next one. I don't see any parentheses, but I do see division. So I'm going to go ahead and do 100 divided by 5, which is 20. I'm going to keep my 5 plus 17 minus. So now I'm going to do it from left to right. In this case, addition comes first because it comes first. 5 plus 17 is 22. 22 minus 20 would be 2. So that's how I'm going to solve these. Now let's look at 2 harder ones that have some brackets and some braces in there. So the first one says 24 minus, brackets, parentheses, 10 minus 7, close parentheses, plus 16 minus 9 in parentheses, and then close my brackets. So I'm going to start on the inside, I'm going to work my way up. I'm going to do the parentheses first, then I'm going to do the brackets, and then if there were braces, I do those after that. And that's all before I do anything outside of that. So I'm going to start by doing 10 minus 7 first, and that is 3. Then I'm going to do 16 minus 9, which is 7. I'm going to keep my plus, I'm going to keep my brackets, and I'm going to keep my 24 minus. So now I'm going to do my 3 plus 7 because it's in brackets, which is 10. So I'm left with 24 minus 10. I get to lose the brackets because I did the operation that was in brackets. And now I have 24 minus 10 left, which is 14. Lastly, we'll look at this monster of a problem. And we've got to start in parentheses just like we always do. 12 minus 8 is 4. And 11 minus 9 is 2. This is the tricky part. I need to keep everything else the same. So I'm going to keep my times 3, which is in my brackets. I'm going to keep my plus sign. I'm going to keep my times 2, which is in brackets. I'm going to keep my brace, which is a little difficult to draw on an iPad. And I'm going to keep my 3 times out front. The hardest part, I think, is keeping track of everything you've not done yet. So now I'm going to go ahead and solve the brackets. I've got 4 times 2, which is 8, plus 2 times 3, which is 6. I've done my brackets, but I've not done my brace expression yet. And I've got my 3 times out front. 8 plus 6 is 14, so I'm left with 3 times 14. And you can solve that any way you want. I was thinking that if I were to half the 14 and double the 6, or double the 3, I would have 6 times 7 instead, and that's an easy one to solve, which is 42. You could also do 10 times 3 plus 4 times 3 and get 42. Or you could stack them up and use that standard algorithm that everybody seems to like a lot. So, this has been Mr. Easton with Homework Help. Good luck, and I'll see you in class tomorrow.